Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English. Talking about euthanasia or mercy killing, some people also call it assisted suicide. It is quite a debatable and controversial topic, and today a country from Latin America called Uruguay has made history by being the first Latin American country to legalize euthanasia, the act of mercy killing. What does it mean? It means when either by the decision of the patient itself or by the adjudicating doctor, a decision is made to end somebody's life in a dignified manner, because the person who's choosing to die could be suffering from a terminal disease, a disease that's not curable, a disease which only ends up in pain and suffering. To reduce that, to provide some dignity to life, some dignity to the way a person dies, various countries in the world allow euthanasia, variously called mercy killing, when done by a doctor, assisted suicide. So today Uruguay has made that news. Now let's remember, Uruguay was also in the news in the last few years because of its revolutionary and liberal laws. For example, legalizing the use of marijuana, legalizing same-sex marriages, abortion laws. Today once again it's making history by becoming one such country in the rather conservative Latin America to pass this law. So euthanasia or mercy killing is the practice of ending somebody's life just to relieve pain and suffering. No wonder it's also known as the good death. The intention is to stop somebody from unnecessarily suffering when we know there is no cure for that disease. But it continues to be quite a controversial topic, and no wonder for UPSC it is especially very relevant for your GS paper 4. The ethical debate about permitting or not permitting euthanasia. Therefore, various countries have different laws regarding it. Now, back in 2002, it was Netherlands which became the first country to legalize euthanasia. But various countries have to be sure, as they legalize this decision, that the decision is voluntary, it's taken by the patient, or the patient has issued some advance directive in this regard. The patient has to be mentally sound to make such a decision, and the family members of the patient are informed about their choice, so that there is no element of force, there is no element of coercion in this practice. Okay, in India also it is a key dilemma, and therefore whenever we talk about the Indian scenario, we often debate between active and passive euthanasia as such. We'll come to that shortly. But before that, yes, Uruguay has become one such country, the first one in Latin America, and the bill it has passed is called the Dignified Death Bill. There is one condition in the bill. The condition is that the person who decides to go for assisted suicide has to be mentally sound. The person has to be psychologically normal. Of course, there is not a complete ban on allowing euthanasia for those who are suffering from chronic mental disorders like depression. But otherwise, it's a rule that the person has to be normal, mentally sound, mentally capable to make such an extreme choice. Plus, there have to be two doctors who need to make sure that the decision that's been taken is valid, and yes, the person indeed can be administered euthanasia. So it's all about making sure there is no element of coercion or force that's happening in the process. Okay, so that's about Uruguay right now, which is making news all over. Now, when you talk about India, in India also from the very beginning, euthanasia has been a controversial topic. Why? Because it was back in 2018 that the Supreme Court of India recognized the right to die with dignity in line with Article 21 of the Constitution. That's the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to dignity. So therefore, under Article 21, it is perceived that yes, a dignified death should be a fundamental right. So from that time onwards, there is a debate between passive and active euthanasia. While the Indian government does not allow active euthanasia, it is considered a criminal offence under Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. It's not legal. It is looked upon as a deliberate act of killing somebody. But when you talk about passive euthanasia, that is permitted. And it all started with a case that happened in 2011. The case is known as Aruna Schonborg case. In the Aruna Schonborg case, there was a lady who was terminally ill. She was in a vegetative state for about 4 decades. That's about 40 years. A petition was made that she should be given euthanasia. She should be allowed mercy killing. But the Supreme Court at that point said that we cannot withdraw the life support system. So although the Supreme Court outruled the withdrawal of life support system, but at the same time the court also said that in exceptional circumstances, in unique cases, where there is no scope of revival, where the disease is purely terminal, yes, passive euthanasia can be allowed. And that also led to another intervention in India, and that's known as advanced directive. Today, if the patient knows, she is aware that there is no cure for the disease and they have to suffer, they need life support, they can issue in writing or they can give an oral permission, and a directive can be created that yes, they really want to seek for voluntary euthanasia. In that case, it becomes a directive coming from the patient himself or the patient herself, and that evolved in India right after the 2011 Aruna Schonborg case. But at the same time, let's understand that active euthanasia is still not permitted in India. With that in mind, let's also quickly look into another important case that happened back in 2018, and this is known as the Common Cause versus Union of India case. Here as well, the Supreme Court said that yes, there is a fundamental right which equates with the Article 21 of the Constitution, and that's about dying with dignity, the right to end your life with dignity. So therefore, using living wills, advance directive, a person can choose to end their life in dire circumstances, and the Supreme Court considers it as valid in exceptional cases. So whatever be the case, but for the GS paper 4, it is indeed a matter of great controversy. You might get case studies on the topic. You may have a 10 marks question on the topic, that how ethical is it to allow mercy killing for someone who has no scope of revival, and what kind of preventive protocols are needed before euthanasia is legalized in a society. So all that is quite important. It is indeed a thought-provoking topic. And on that note, a quick question coming your way. It's a practice question. It says, with reference to the recent development in Latin America, consider the following statements. 1. Uruguay has become the first Latin American country to legalize assisted dying through a parliamentary process, the dignified death bill. 2. The law permits only terminally ill, mentally competent, mentally sound adults to choose assisted dying, performed only by a medical practitioner, by a professional. 3. Colombia and Ecuador had previously legalized assisted dying through legislative acts. And the last one, the majority of opposition to the law in Uruguay comes from religious institutions. It comes from the Catholic Church. So which of these statements do you think are valid? You can let us know your answer. And before I take your leave, a quick reminder about the ongoing sale. Now the batches are beginning from 27th October 25, so just 2 more days to go. The sale is for especially those aspirants who are writing the exam in 2027. And the sale is coming at a price of only 21,999 for Hindi medium, English medium, bilingual as well. And what do you get if you enroll for the sale? Yes, you get an access to all GS topics, all GS subjects, because it is the GS Foundation P21 sale. Also alongside, you get massive discounts on the optional subjects of your choice. CSAT, answer writing, current affairs are a part of it. So if you are interested, you can use code SPLIVE on your screen and apply for the sale. If you want to hear back from us, even if you're writing the exam in 2028, the batches will begin on 27th. So either use code SPLIVE. If not, you can also fill up a form that's provided in the description box of this video here. If you do that, we will reach out to you and clarify various issues regarding the sale. So wishing you all the best for your preparation, and do work hard and keep liking, sharing and subscribing us only at StudyIQ English.